We are joined by the Shadow Minister for Industrial Strategy, Chi Onwurah. Welcome to the Daily Politics. We heard there Clive Lewis saying that the Tories are no longer the party of business. What's your evidence for that?
Business needs certainty. Not absolute certainty, clearly, but some level of certainty, some level of commitment to where the economy is going and what matters. And I talk to business all the time. We have no plan for Brexit. We have no commitment on some of the key issues around skills, around investment. We understand that the industrial strategy that Theresa May sort of most vaunted is not actually going to be the white paper, the green paper, whatever it was, isn't going to be released before the autumn statement.
Sure.
So business needs some kind of vision for the future, and they're not providing that. And that is what Labour is today in the industrial strategy we're beginning to set out.
But that's sentiment, and I take your point that you've been speaking to business, but where in action, in deeds or in evidence, economic evidence, proves your point that the Tories are no longer the party of business, or, as Clive Lewis goes on to say, actually it's jeopardising the lives and livelihoods of millions of British people. What recent economic evidence is there for that?
Well, what we've seen in the Trump victory is that we have got the key issues now are around inequality and people being left behind. What business needs in order to be able to deliver on the jobs that will make a difference to the people who are voting in our elections is some kind of economic. So to be very precise, today we led on the first mission, which is going to be that we will deliver 60% of our energy production will be carbon free. Now that gives business the opportunity to align its resources, its investment, its skills around knowing that that is what we will be supporting.
Well, let's take up your point about inequality and employment and the areas that have been left behind, because Theresa May talked about that, and as you say, there's evidence of that in the American election, because record levels of employment were reported this week. So, in a way, that actually cancels out your claim here that the jobs haven't been created over the last few years. Consumer confidence is still robust because it's back to pre-referendum levels. And even when it comes to business confidence, we've had, of course, Google announcing that they're going to create 3,000 more UK jobs. Nissan are happy to stay. So I say again, there's no evidence for your claims.
You look at Google's announcement and Nissan's announcement, that's fantastic. But industrial strategy can't be one business by business. We need to look at the levels of investment and the levels of confidence of business overall. And when we look at, Theresa May talks about the Tories being the party of the working people, and you're saying that the recent employment figures were positive, but the actual claimant count has gone up. And if you talk to people, constituents, you do not expect to feel the level of uncertainty and inequality that people are feeling now, and that is clear in the political environment. So to argue that we have an economy in which we can have confidence going forward, that is why we need an industrial strategy which sets out what government can do, government can do positively to support
and you're
business.
saying that this may be coming down the line, and we'll talk about investment, because there is some evidence that businesses are ditching investment that they might have made. But as I say, on some of the measures that I've announced, there doesn't seem to be evidence for what you're saying so far. Some of the things that you're suggesting on corporation tax, we had one of your colleagues on earlier in the week, you're going to raise corporation tax, is that right? That's what you would do as a Labour government? What
we would do is not to reduce corporation tax as was set out by George Osborne as part of the austerity economics.
Right. So are you happy with it at 20%, or you'd like it to go up?
What we are saying is that we need to focus on ensuring that we have the investment in people and skills.
Yes.
But are you going to raise corporation tax?
Putting up corporation tax, would that encourage investment from businesses?
We'll certainly make clear that we are not going to follow the argument of reducing corporation tax in a race to the bottom, to reducing it further. And
will you stick at 20%?
I think we need to look at the exact economic environment when we're into power, but we are certainly not going to look at reducing it further. Because
are businesses happy with your decision on that as a party? Because Rebecca Long-Bailey implied you could. I don't think she categorically said you would increase it, but she said you would look at it. And businesses naturally would say that will discourage us from investing.
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because corporation tax is not the main determining factor in where businesses locate
not be the
and
main
investment.
one, but
what is the main factor is the skills of the environment and the openness of the economy.
Okay.
And that is what we are going to be
All right, if you're
investing
going
in.
to encourage investment, because there have been reports out this week that some businesses ditching £65 million worth of investment, or it's holding on to it for the moment because of certainty. They'd like to know what the relationship is going to be between the UK and the EU and the single market. So are you committed, as John McDonnell said, on insisting on full tariff-free access to the single market?
The UK future is about investment and exporting goods, and we need. Nobody voted for people to have less work or for people to be poorer.
No.
So we need
so
access.
Do you want full tariff-free access to the single market? That's what John McDonnell said.
We need full tariff-free access to the single market.
How are you going to deliver that if John McDonnell then went on to say we mustn't refight the referendum, we mustn't push for a second referendum vote, and if Article 50 does need to be triggered by Parliament, Labour won't block it. So what would be your mechanism for guaranteeing that tariff-free full access to the single market?
We need a plan for what we need to see what the government's negotiating stance is.
And what if it isn't that? What will you do?
We will be, as part of the scrutiny of the negotiations, then we will be applying amendments to any proposals which are coming through Parliament, and setting out what's really important is that we understand what the implications of the tariff negotiation deals that we have, and how it implies on the customs union and on the levels of investment.
No, I understand that, and there'll be many people who will support you in that. In fact, there may be a majority of MPs, and certainly in the Lords there'll be peers that be behind it. But if you take away all the mechanisms, the parliamentary mechanisms at your disposal to block the government going for a negotiating position that you don't agree with, you cannot pledge to promise full tariff-free access to the single market.
I think we can absolutely pledge that that is what we are not in government.
No.
Theresa May doesn't have a plan. She doesn't have a strategy. It's chaos on that side. We can give firm commitment of what our position is, that we want access to the markets that would deliver jobs for my constituents and for this country.
Can I just ask you, if there's so much uncertainty among ordinary people, as you claim, chaos is the word you just used, if there's so much uncertainty, why are retail sales rising so quickly?
What we don't need is an economy economy for too long has been driven, if you like, by consumer
but that's another
debt.
point. If people are so uncertain, as you claim, why are they spending so much? Uncertainty means you're more likely to save. So why are retail sales rising for the fastest rate in 14 years if things are as uncertain as you say?
Actually, I would push back on whether uncertainty means that you're more likely to save. I think we've also seen that the reactions of people to the levels of uncertainty, to the inequality in our society, have happened in most unexpected ways. And I don't know whether you did predict that the level of uncertainty would lead to voting for Donald Trump in the United States. So I don't think...
I'm just asking about British retail sales, not American voting.
Absolutely, but I don't think that British retail sales are an indication of a long-term industrial strategy which delivers on well-paid jobs, which is what our constituents need and what will help address a more uncertain future with a more resilient economy.
Chi Onwurah, thank you.